Hello, I'm Annalouise, and today I'm going to be talking about the difficult area of shame. In my opinion, shame is one of the most debilitating vibrations we experience as humans. It has a habit of contorting the body, creating pain in our connective tissue, and creating all sorts of strategies of avoidance which, rather than release the shame, actually make the situation worse. So I'm going to be talking about shame and the way it shows up, and exploring how we can free ourselves a little bit of not only the shame but also the strategies that we use not to feel it, to try in theory and avoid it. So I know that shame is a vibration that feels really familiar to me. It's something that shows up in a lot of directions in my life. And I'm curious about you. Is shame something that feels familiar, or does it not feel familiar? And are there particular occasions when it feels more familiar than others, or with certain people? What I notice is that when I'm with really uninhibited people, my shame vibration is less active and I feel less inhibited as well. And yet when I'm with people where the vibration of shame is similar, my shame vibration gets really more present. So that's fascinating for me. And I feel like when I show up in a more free, liberated way, it gives permission for other people to do the same. So first of all, going to touch on how shame can really create suffering. So I actually created a little list. It feels like shame can lead to avoidance of things, to withdrawal. It can create overexertion, like a perfectionism, an unnecessary perfectionism, because we don't want to get things wrong. We're too afraid of getting things wrong. It can lead to the opposite, so real underachievement, because everything's too scary to even try. And obviously shyness, embarrassment, all of those yucky feelings of I just want to hide, I don't want to show my face, I don't want to say anything, I'm going to avoid the situation. And it can lead to the opposite of people becoming aggressive because they're trying to cover up some sort of sense of inadequacy. It can lead to dogmatism, it can lead to plasticity. It has all sorts of effects on our voice. And as I've mentioned, a whole host of effects on our body structure. And I think it really feels like it goes in two directions within the body. It can either go into that withdrawal place, so the hunching, the twisting, the avoidance, and that can become a long-term pattern, or it can come into the opposite, where in order to avoid feeling a sense of inadequacy, the chest gets puffed out and it's I'm confident. And either way, it's recruiting muscular, skeletal structure in order to overcome this underlying feeling. So what do I want to talk about next? I think what really strikes me about shame is that it really can lead to immense suffering. It can lead to physical pain. It can lead to greater codependency in relationships, so not true, authentic relating. And it really saps people's ability to be fully themselves, because they may not want to take a chance on doing something, or they're so worried about getting it right that they're overexerting themselves. And I always think the model of shame-free is thinking about babies and little children. They're so uninhibited, right? They could scream, they could shout, they could run around without their clothes on, it doesn't matter. They're shame-free. They don't get born with shame. So I think there's a myth within shame whereby, if you become more confident, then that will deal with shame. But of course, confidence is just setting oneself up for a fall, isn't it, in a way? So rather than confidence, I like to think of a lack of inhibition, a freedom in our interactions, a freedom in the choices we have in our life, to live with and in freedom. And in that we can relax, there's no agenda, we can be connected to our true selves, we can follow our paths, we can show up in openness and humility and heartfulness with others. Just so beautiful to invite that. And I realise it's not always easy. I think one of the really good things is recognising where shame has a grip on us. I had no idea. It's hard to imagine now, but I had no idea how gripped I was with shame. And by becoming more familiar with that and embracing it, it's really helping me. And I've been doing a practice recently where when I feel like shame kick in, and my habitual strategy is to go into the withdrawal, is to actually just feel it really fully, just like, oh yeah, I can feel how painful this feels. And another beautiful turn for shame, I think, is if we can take it into humour. So if we can laugh at ourselves in the situation, not in a derogatory way, not in a like, I'm castigating myself, I'm bad, but more just in a like, oh wow way. I really experienced this. I just came off the paddle tennis court. It's a game, and obviously, you know, sometimes you do not so good shots. And I was just really opening my field, like when I was doing a bad shot, just to feel my heartfulness and to be able to laugh at myself and to feel really expanded, whether I did a good or a bad shot. And it felt so good. It felt really, really good. So having that light-hearted way of approaching shame, and I think it's really good when we can bring shame out into the open with others in that way. So be able to laugh at ourselves. I notice that when I sometimes bring shame out into the open with others, it can actually make me feel even more shame. So certainly to begin with, I was really choosing who I would expose my shameful places with, and I think that's really helpful to be gentle with our shame and to really respect how debilitating it can be to ourselves and to others. And another path to help free shame, which I think maybe is the most potent path, is to be able to really hold space and to recognise in a non-judgmental and really heart-open way when other people might be responding in a way of inadequacy. So maybe they might be withdrawing and not replying to a message, or maybe they might be doing the opposite of becoming over assertive and trying to enforce their opinion. And being able to, rather than match whatever's happening for them, just to be really loving and open and warm and appreciative of them. Typically when someone's sort of being overexertive, you know, they want to feel that they're right maybe. And so it's not about necessarily agreeing with someone. Obviously you can agree if you do, but it's really knowing, being able to express that they're appreciated and that they're loved and honoured, whatever the differences in opinion might be. It feels so precious. So I realise this is a bit of a whirlwind into shame. I'm wondering whether anything that I've said has resonated with you or rings any bells. I hope that it might have done. And I also wonder whether you have curiosity in yourself of how you might become more aware of where shame's blocking you or changing your true nature into something that's less inhibited, and whether you would like to become more uninhibited and free in your life. Whether that's something that interests you. Certainly it's a path that interests me. I feel very committed to a path of becoming more free and open and receptive, and being able to learn in every moment. And shame, more than anything, I think stops us being open to learn. And being able to learn is just a wonderful way of growing as a human being, showing up in more of our humanhood. So if you would like to investigate shame a little bit more, then please do sign up to my mailer on my website, www.resonating.love. And I will be doing workshops every couple of months where we get to actually practice and to see where we're hiding and seeing the strategies that we use, and to open ourselves up and to experience in a really safe space what it feels like to experience less shame. And shame loves safety more than anything. Shame loves safety, and I create that space so we can experiment together. So do go to www.resonatinglove.love and sign up to my mailer. And if you enjoyed this, please press like and subscribe to the channel. And wishing you a lovely week full of freedom and joy and wonder.